Hey guys, Ken here from Backpacking Light. And today I'm going to talk about my 4 favorite backpacking and hiking stoves. Now this isn't for like glamping or anything like that. It's mainly just for cooking water when I want an ultralight kit, or at least a lightweight kit, or just something I really enjoy using. So I'm going to start off with the one that's kind of not really within the lightweight or ultralight segment, but it's still a very enjoyable stove to use, and it's actually one I use the most on overnight hikes or 2-day hikes or something like that, where I don't really care about the weight and I just want something that's enjoyable to use. And that is this beast. This is the Svea, Optimus Svea 123. Now these were originally made in Sweden, now they're made in China, but they're the exact same thing. That's a brass stove. It comes with an aluminum cup at the top, and it comes in 2 sections. You have the bottom, and this you put in a couple deciliters of fuel. This is the white gas, the Coleman fuel or Primus power fuel. You put a little bit of the gas in here. This is a preheating plate. It warms it up and it builds up enough air pressure in there and compresses it upwards, so you get a nice flame there. A very enjoyable stove to use. Never breaks. It's you know, once you buy it, you'll have it for the rest of your life. Pretty crappy in every possible way. If it blows a little bit of wind, it's not very effective. A 5-minute boil turns into 20 minutes, uses up all your fuel. If it's cold and you get, and this is directly on snow or something like that, you're never gonna get enough heat and pressure in there because it uses the brass and the heat in there to push up the air. But it's such an enjoyable stove. It's also quite heavy, right? And then this one, because it's aluminum, gets boiling hot. So even after a couple minutes of it being boiled on there, you'd burn your lips. So it's not a very usable cup either. But with that said, it's such an enjoyable stove to use that it's one, I probably use it the most out of all of my stoves still. And this one I've had, I don't know, 20 years now. This one was built in 1960. So it's a really old stove, and I've had it for about 20 years, and it's still my favorite stove for most of my outings. But when I'm going on ultralight trips, then I certainly don't bring the Svea with me, and instead I bring either alcohol stoves, or I bring something like the Vargo bot with a Soda Windmaster kind of thing. And I'll go ahead and show that first, actually. This is the Vargo bot 900 milliliter, and it has the closure here. And I can put a gas tube in there and my stove. Now this, you'll see, is actually the Pocket Rocket, MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe, which is the exact same thing, with the only difference being that it has these built-in stovepat holders. Otherwise, it's basically just a copy of the Windmaster, and then they just put that on top. So I don't know where my Windmaster is at the moment, so that's why I'm showing this one instead. But like I said, it's the exact same thing, the exact same features in high winds and so on, and that's one of the main reasons why I always bring that as my go-to stove. My Windmaster I've had about 5 years now, and I've used it every summer in all of my hiking trips, and it's still holding up just well. And basically, you don't need any wind protector. You don't have to like hide behind rocks or put up your backpack or anything like that. It just works even in the most intense winds. So it's a pretty cool little thing, and this combination means that I can use like one little gas tube, 230 milliliter gas tube. The smallest ones will last me a couple of weeks. Now you're probably thinking, how's that even possible? Well, because I use the Vargo bot, I can just cold soak my food first. So cold soak it in here for about usually about an hour. I'll let that soak, since it's a nice seal on there. I'll let it soak for an hour or so, and then I just warm it up about a minute, and I'll have nice warm food with using extremely little fuel. So most of my fuel is used on making hot water for coffee. And even there, I rarely cook water to boiling because I have a little filter with me. So I filter the water so I don't have to boil it. And then I just good enough, like warm enough for coffee, because I don't like my coffee boiling anyway. So it's a nice temperature at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. And then that gives me a nice perfect brew every time. So anyway, that's probably the one I go to the most, actually, is the Soda Windmaster combination with the Vargo Bot. And that would be my entire setup for, you know, most of my ultralight hikes. I do actually use alcohol stoves a lot, and I find myself using them more and more. It's a pendulum, it goes back and forth. And right now I'm kind of like going back to alcohol stoves again. One of my first ultralight stoves that I bought was when this was first released. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but over a decade. This is the Foster's Beer Trail Designs Cordura Cone. I think that probably said everything there wrong, but I do know it's Trail Designs. And I don't really know if they're still making anything. I haven't checked. I don't know what the status is of Trail Designs anymore. They've kind of disappeared, and I don't know why, because at 90 grams, this is still the lightest full stove kit that you can buy. And that's about, I think it was 700 milliliters of water in your Foster's beer can. And then you have the Cordura Cone there, and all of that packs down nicely inside. Now, I don't really like the burner itself. This is the one that you buy with the stove kit from Trail Designs. But I've broken so many of these that I just don't use them anymore. I don't think they're really worth, like if it's, I'll measure it right now. So 15 grams, and it breaks really, really easily. It's just a soda can turned inside out. So I've actually changed that out for the Evernew Blue Note stove with the preheating table. That's not going to break. That's solid aluminum, carved out of solid aluminum. It's not like cheap soda can, and it burns just as effectively. And if I measure that, those two together, 20 grams, 5 grams more, and I've got something that will last. This very solid. Or this was actually one I had before, and this is the Toaks siphon filter stove, which is the same concept as all of these have the same concept. It just shoots hot air through it and makes a nice little flame. And that's fairly light too. That's 20 grams as well, and also solid. So that's the Trail Designs. Definitely, you can tell it's got a few years on it. Looking like hell these days, but probably last another decade before I have to worry. And I do like the Trail Designs as it comes as a complete kit. You even get a little isolator pouch and this nice little carrying case. Of course, all of this adds more weight, which is lastly one of the reasons why I've kind of just switched to this setup. This is the Evernew 600 milliliters ultralight kit with a very solid, this isn't going to break on you, and the Vesuv windshield. Kind of the same concept as the Cordura Cone. It's a nice cone-shaped windshield, and it's got this, and it just kind of fits on there very nicely, and then I just put the stove under. So the Cordura Cone Complete was about 95 grams. This system complete is 130 grams. So about 35 grams more, but I just like this setup better because I like the wider pot here. And I think that works really nice for me. Yeah. So anyway, those are my 4 favorite stoves for hiking and backpacking. Kind of in weight, you have this one, the Foster's Beer Can version from Trail Designs. 95 grams complete, well, without the plastic thingy here. The Evernew Vesuv combination here, and that's the Evernew 600 milliliter ultralight pot with the Blue Note stove in there. And you know, you can change that out basically for the siphon filter from Toaks, about the same weight. That's 130 grams. You've got the Bott Vargo, which is probably the most useful of all of them. And that's 223 grams for that. So it's about 100 grams more than the Evernew. And then you have the Svea, which is about 600 grams. So yeah, those are my 4 favorite stoves for backpacking and hiking. Cheers.